Hello, my name is Alexis and welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite shows, Degrassi. And Degrassi have been around for a long time, ever since the 1980s. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how I think Degrassi has, changed with the times. Because first we had Degrassi, the original version made in the 1980s. Then we had Degrassi Next Generation, which was made in the early 2000s. Then Degrassi Next Class, which is the newest version of it, and that was made only a few years ago. So I'm going to talk to you about how Degrassi has changed with the times and how I think the consequences of some of the characters, what they did years ago, I think how it would have been perceived differently in today's times. For instance, in the early 2000s, the character Craig Manning, he was every girl's crush back in the early 2000s. Everyone loved him, even though his character, they made his character out to be a good person, but he wasn't. He cheated on his girlfriends multiple times, and his friend Spinner even encouraged him to cheat. And he strung his friend Ellie along just for his coke addiction, just so that he could keep doing coke. He got Manny pregnant and then wanted her to keep the baby even though she wanted an abortion. He did a lot of bad stuff. I want to know what his consequences would be in today's times. Back then, people kind of got over what he did, got over his coke addiction, got over his cheating, got over getting Manny pregnant. Then everything with Craig just went on. He didn't really get any consequences for his actions. Then let's talk about something else that happened. Manny Santos. Now, back in the early 2000s, she had a lot of hate towards her because of what she did. Craig, like I said, Craig got her pregnant and she got an abortion because she didn't want to be a mother yet. People often slut-shamed her. Her best friend Emma even called her a slut because she had sex with Craig, she got pregnant and wanted an abortion, and Emma did not support abortions at all. So back then, people often slut-shamed Manny for some of the stuff she did. Just like how the character Peter video recorded Manny taking her top off, then tried to use that as blackmail so that she would go on a date with him. Then when she said no, he posted the video and sent it around to everyone. But Peter, what his consequence was, sure, he got in trouble with the school, but his reputation was unharmed by that. But Manny, like I said, was still slut-shamed for it repeatedly. People always called her names, called her a slut, just because of that. I wonder how that would have been different in this times. Because in Degrassi Next Class, because when Manny was there, it was Degrassi Next Generation, but I wonder how that would have panned out if it was Degrassi Next Class. Because Degrassi Next Class is the newer one where we see people, we see a lot of the characters, sending nudes and everything, because in Degrassi's Next Class, the newer one, it seems a thing that all teenagers do, we see it a lot. So I wonder if Manny was on Degrassi Next Class instead of Degrassi Next Generation, how it would have panned out, because, in today's times, it's a rite of passage or something that a lot of teenagers do. But in Manny's time, in the early 2000s, it was something to be ashamed of and oftentimes slut-shamed for. So in today's times, what would have happened? Because in Degrassi's Next Class, we see a lot of the characters, the teenagers sending pictures like that. So I think it would have been different in today's times. Also, one more thing I want to talk to you guys about is the abortions. Because in Degrassi, I think we only seen 3 times when they want, 3 abortion episodes. In the first one, I think the episode was made in the 1980s, I believe it was, where one of the characters wanted to get an abortion, but when she went to the clinic, there was like, outside there was a lot of protesters who, like, think that getting an abortion is like, murder or something. So there was a lot of protesters. Then in the early 2000s, in Degrassi Next Generation, Manny goes to the clinic to get an abortion. And there wasn't as many protesters. But then in Degrassi Next Class, Lola gets an abortion. And when Lola gets an abortion, she just goes in there, gets an abortion halfway through the episode, but then after she gets an abortion, she has to deal with, like, the backlash of it, because she doesn't tell her friends she was pregnant. Like, she says she might be pregnant, but she lied to them about her pregnancy. And they were saying the kind of mean things about it. So she eventually told them. Well, she didn't tell them, but they kind of figured it out. Because Lola was very brave. She posted a video about it online, about her abortion, so everyone could see it and know that she wasn't ashamed of it. So those are just 3 things that I wanted to talk about how I think the times have changed in Degrassi. Because times are always changing with new things, and I'm so glad that Degrassi has changed with it. So that was the end of this video, and please comment what you think Degrassi has changed since the 1980s to today's times. Thank you for watching. Bye.